Hello, everybody. My name is Ewa Demianiuk, and I practice introspective hypnosis. Today, we are talking to Brigita, and we will be discussing entity attachment.
Hi, Eva. Really nice to be here, and I can't wait to share my experiences. Hope everyone who's watching will find it interesting and useful.
So we had a session more than 2 weeks ago, and during your session, we have encountered an attachment. Have you noticed any changes because we have released the attachment?
Yeah. So, as far as I remember, I had the homeless man attachment, and I'm gonna start with that because I think that was super interesting. And what happened in that homeless man's life, he really liked, this free type of lifestyle. And I remember that part where you took me towards a death scene. And at the same time, when the body died, peeing in pants. And you said, how does it feel like? And I'm like, it feels like such a relief. I didn't pay much attention to that part. But that part played a big deal later on in my life. And it clicked, I think maybe 3 or 4 days later in real life, just clarifying. Went to the barbecue with my friends, and we were eating and we were drinking. I was drinking non-alcoholic beer, but even that for me, because it's fizzy, would straight away go, the other end. 4 hours has passed since we were doing a barbecue. I haven't went to pee once. I'm like, I looked at my friend, I was like, oh my God, the hypnosis session. Do you remember what I said to you about the man peeing his pants and the release that I felt? I think my bladder is fixed. So I'm just very stoked about that. That was my first, symptom that kind of blew my mind how quickly it went away. And then that attachment was causing me issues with productivity. I'm a really hard worker, but for me to push myself and work and have a schedule, like a proper schedule, and stick to it, it seems somehow sometimes so difficult. And I figured out during your session that it wasn't only part of me, it was caused by that entity. And that was something that gave me a lot of insight too.
You had a session 2 days ago, and during that session as well, there was attachment encountered. I would like to ask you about your experience.
First memory that I went to is the attachment straight away. 2-year-old child who was beaten up. That soul of a girl who has died, she said, I don't want to talk to my mother. Because of her, she got to know him, and because of her, I had to die. And I was like, oh my God, this is my fault because that child basically died because of the person I was with. And that person, that guy, that man was beating my child up for revenge to me. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
How did you find out during the session that there is some other entity within your energy?
I jumped into a memory. I knew I was in this life. I was around my age. And I saw a screen of my laptop, and I saw a lot of programs closing down one after another very quickly. I saw like an orbit of energy going all around my head, and it kept going and going and going. It was so intense. It feels very cosmic, and I couldn't make sense of it until he navigated me more towards the next memory and the next memory, and then the story added up whose consciousness this is. You don't know what to expect in hypnosis session, and I think that's the beauty of it. For so long, I was trying to figure out, why I have such problems with technology. I would get really frustrated, especially during deadlines. At one point in my uni, I had like 20 minutes to print out my work and literally give it to the tutor. And every possible problem appeared. Every time I'd start working on a project, it feels like I'm running out of time. And that was actually my grandpa who has passed away, who attached to me. And that wasn't mine. It was his because he did run out of time. Because he died when he was 42. So I think the camera flicked just now. You're going to see that in the recording. And I never got a chance to meet him. And he was causing problems with tech. And the moment I started going into this memory, the Zoom screen went black. So he saw that. I was obviously, out of it. I didn't see anything. But at one point, when I started going into that memory, my eyes were going like it. So it was so intense. And at one point, I kind of opened my eyes a bit whilst being in trance. And I see this man literally next to my laptop at the end of my feet, like a tall, dark kind of soul. And I realized that my grandpa, he didn't want to leave because he had a lot of projects to do. And he said, I need to keep working. I'm running. He didn't say, but I'm running out of time, right? I can't finish my projects. I need to work. I saw exact position how he was laying, and he was looking towards the room that I grew up in. And he's like, I gotta finish my work. And he goes, I could finish some of the work through Brigita. And I was like, oh my God, because I was studying architecture. And every time I'd start working on my laptop would start doing most ridiculous things. The way he was coming through, he wanted to finish his stuff through me because his plans were not finished. He was saying my plans are not finished. And since I was studying architecture, he could finish that through me. You see, so it was more like he didn't understand that he died because he kept working. I went also to the memory where there was a friends get together, like a girls' night out. And the moment I started talking about these stories, encounters with soul, the living room light started flickering. All girls freaked out. They ran to the kitchen. They were like, "Oh my God, what the F was going on?" And that was all tied into my grandpa. So today I went to visit my mom, and I said to her, I saw him drawing in the small room. Is that where he used to draw his plans? He's like, yeah, in the small room. I'm like, I didn't know that. He showed me this. And then I said, in what position did he die? Like, where was he? Was it in the corridor? He's like, yeah, he was walking from that small room towards the kitchen. And that's exactly how I saw him. So
was he realizing that he was causing you some hardship?
Yeah, he did. The way we kind of said bye to one another, and the main thing what he needed is just to talk. He said, it's been a long time I had direct communication. Why I think introspective hypnosis is so powerful is because you have to listen to what they want to say because they don't have a voice. And once you listen to their story, why, how, and what happened, and do you get it, and you have that conversation, that's when the release can happen.
Can you talk about how it felt? Whether you felt that it was you talking, or did you feel like it's another consciousness expressing itself through you?
For me personally, it felt like I was talking. It was very normal. It was me talking, but I knew that the messages are coming through and the sentences were not mine. I was kind of a channel in a way.
Did you feel a difference after the spirit of your grandpa was released to the light?
When you in the room and you know that someone is in the room but you don't see them, and when they leave, you know that someone was in the room but they left and now you're alone in the house. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much how it felt like.
Did you find out what made you vulnerable to having spirit attached to your energy?
The first spirit attachment of a little girl, she attached to me in intense care where I was already really, really bad, really sick. And that was the vulnerability, my stomach. And she said her stomach was vulnerable, And with grandpa, it was a bit of a different case. It seemed like he was attached to home, and I grew up in that home. So I wonder now that I had a nudge from my grandpa to go into architecture, like an extra nudge, in order for him to finish the work that he hasn't finished, right? Because he was super present with me throughout that time. And we made it clear during the session that that's something that I don't do anymore, because I switched to spiritual field now and I do different things. And I think that gave him a realization too, in a way. And today just was I was walking back home from my parents' house and I felt this feeling of thankfulness, like thank you. And I was like, and it felt like grandpa, like thank you, finally, I'm there, you know? So I think every time I would be talking about him, I will have some type of, tech interaction, but today my laptop isn't heating up. Now it's quiet and it hasn't been so quiet for a long time. So it's very strange, but it's very amazing. We gotta have some kind of similarities for entities to attach to us, right? And I remember this entity that I attached to her when she was pretty depressed. So he was kind of depressed towards the end of his life too.
When there's an attachment and they die having certain symptoms, very often they will give a symptom to the person who is having that attachment. What is your experience?
Yeah, so I did have this sense of guilt and anxiety that was connected to the attachment. When it comes to my grandpa, pressure in my head. Like I can't focus, there is too much going on up here. That soul of a girl was causing me a lot of problems with bloating on top of what I already have. But normally people who have bloating, during the night it eases out and it starts during the day because you eat or you drink something. For me it was the opposite. I would wake up bloated as if there was like a stone in my gut, And I was like, this doesn't really add up. And what I figured out when I was navigating the grandpa's memory, and I kept jumping between two homes, and I'm like, I can't settle for one home. And at the end of the session, I realized that I was being dragged to the house where he was living in. So my soul was going places. I'd wake up really tired. And the feeling of drainedness all the time and lack of energy just made a lot of sense. I have two very strong attachments. One of them is my grandpa. The other one is connected to guilt and this child.
Brigita, please tell us what you do and how people can find you.
I do have my own website, which is brigita.com, and my YouTube channel, which is Brigita as well. And I am an intuitive reader, so I advise people in that way. And also recently I have discovered introspective hypnosis, which is super powerful. I experienced it myself, and I will be offering that for the people in the future too.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. It was lovely talking to you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much, Ella, for this experience because it was mind-blowing, honestly.
Thank you.